It's unexplainable. It's unconditional. It's unforgettable. Unstoppable. Unless intentional. It's so invitable. Indescribable. Hello, 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 and welcome to his
and her perspective. Wow. We're a little rusty, that's all.
That's it. That whole 2-week thing. Here it is, in her perspective, we find common ground to harmonize relationships. And we do that by having conversations that we're going to have like today. Today's conversation is going to be hot and steamy. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I'm excited.
All week.
Yes. So we're going to talk today about, is sex transitional? Is it to be used as currency, combat, or connection? Which one are you using it for? So listen, before we move on, we want to make sure that you are saying something, subscribing to our channels and our pages, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever floats your boat, we like it. So go ahead and subscribe to those pages, but you want to make sure that while you're watching us, that you're saying something. Don't step into the room and you don't say hi. Tell us who you are and where you're chiming in from, and we would love to say hello back to you. So listen, how are you today, brother?
Pretty good. I'm pretty good. I don't have any complaints. Life is good. How about
you're looking good and handsome over there.
Well, thank
you.
Showing
out and stuff,
got nice. It's awfully nice of you to say such things. I'm feeling real festive, very pumpkin-y-ish, if you will. You look very nice yourself, though. You look very nice.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I feel a little festive myself and decided to get cute. Nothing wrong with being cute. We in this whole pandemic and we all quarantined. So I got a little quarantine cute today.
Dig it. It looks good on you. It looks
good. Thank you. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, Sierra Nevada, tuning in from Texarkana, Texas. How are you doing today? Listen, we've got some really good stuff. Today, we usually talk about what's in our cup. Do you want to talk about that? Because I don't have nothing special in mind.
No, we can slide right on past it. It ain't even the thing. Let's get on with the get on.
So listen, let's talk about, we always talk about the negative things. We've been discussing who's getting divorced and who's breaking up and in the whole entertainment industry. But today we're going to start something different. We're going to talk about couples that are winning. And we want those day-to-day couples, the ones that you see every day, the ones that we see every day, the ones that we take for granted and looking at them winning. What do you say about couples winning, Vaun, all the time?
Yeah, I say that people think that it takes something extraordinary, but it's not that the couples that are winning are doing anything extraordinary. They're just doing ordinary things better than other couples. So it's just the consistency piece, and the standard things that people talk about, the communication and the trust and the respect and reciprocity, all those different things, but just doing the ordinary things better than everybody else.
Absolutely. So look, we're going to be highlighting couples every single week. If there's someone that you would love to be highlighted, reach out to us at harmony@hisandherperspective.com and we can do that. But today we're going to start off with our couples. So you want to start or me start? Which one you want to start?
You can go first.
All right. So I'm going to start with my own parents, right? My mom and my dad, just so that you can understand, I don't look at her as a step anything, but just so you can understand, he's my father's current wife. I love her like a mother. That's all she is to me. I call her mom. They have been together. They talk about how multiple marriages that, you get married multiple times, that the marriages don't last. But let me tell you, that is a myth. A myth. Nobody should say that ever again, because Mr. Nathaniel, let me share my screen here. Let's see here. Mr. and Mrs. Nathaniel and Rosie Henderson, they have been married for 21 years coming this January, and they contribute their success into their marriage to their friendship of each other first, because they consider themselves to be best friends. Let me tell you. So when I go home, and I stay there with them, they wake me up every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, or maybe a little bit earlier, depending on how early they went to bed the night before, giggling. And I'm like, the first time I heard that, I was like, oh my God, they are just laughing about nothing. I listened to them for an hour or two, and they were not talking about anything that was, like Vaun says, anything that's extraordinary. It was them laughing and being friends. And that was such a beautiful sight to me. So I want to congratulate my mom and my dad for being married for 21 years this coming January. So let me move on in. Let me stop this one and then go into yours.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's powerful. You said
Isn't
20
that?
years?
Yes. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. I want to get into, how do I do this better? I want to. All right, here we go. Let's see. So you want to go ahead and let me make sure I can share it that way. Application window. All right, so you ready to introduce this couple?
Yeah. I'm ready.
Go ahead.
You got the picture ready?
I got the picture ready.
All right. So this is David and Angelina Grant from Chicago, my hometown. I did not grow up with them. I met them on the cruise. I think it's probably been about 10 years ago. But so they've been married for 15 years. They have 3 children together, ages 22, 18, and 13. And so 15 years they've been together. And what stood out to me about this particular couple is their chemistry. I mean, they've been together for 15 years where, most couples fall off in half the time, but they have a very playful disposition. The respect level is strong, and they just have a real good vibe about them. And so I just wanted to shout them out. So many other couples that I'm going to shout out to, but I figured I'd kick it off with a little bit of hometown fun and shout out, like I say, some hometown folks. David and Angelina Grant, congratulations to y'all, man. Y'all make it look easy.
I love that. I love that. That's what's up. I'm telling you, we have got to see and talk about more of that, because I really believe the more we talk about what we do want, that's when we attract those things. But if we keep saying things like ain't no good person out here, ain't no good man, no good woman, then that's exactly what we're going to attract. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Where thought flows, energy goes, right?
Absolutely. So we got Yardley Bond, who is saying hello from Brunswick, Georgia. We got Sierra Nevada saying hello from Texarkana, Texas. And we got Desi. Hey.
It's my lovely wife.
Congratulations on 21 years to my mom and dad. Thank you so much, Desi. I appreciate that. So listen, let's move on in today's topic. We are talking about, again, is sex transactional to be used as currency, combat, or connection? So this was really fun. And then Desi says, congratulations on 15 of marriage to David and Angelina. Thank you so much, Desi. So this was pretty fun. And hey. in preparing, Desi says, hey, from over in Vaughn's house. This was pretty fun with talking about this. When we came up with this topic, Vaun, I was like, OMG, this is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
Because people do not really realize how transactional they are really using sex. Because what prompted this was a post that I saw, and the post had said something about if a girl requires a dude to buy her things to just mess with her, then she's a prostitute. And I was like, normally I am not the one that go combating folk on their on their status, right? Normally I'm like, that's their status. I don't want nobody talking about my status. Stay out my stuff unless you agree, right?
Right.
So I was like, let me say something about this. So I kind of said to him that, well, what if women just thought that if we had to rub on y'all and feed y'all that y'all was homeless dogs? And I said, wouldn't that be derogatory? And he agreed that that was derogatory, and he kind of didn't take, account for what he said because he shared it. That meant that you agree with it. So I thought that, when reach out to my co-host Vaun, I'm like, hey, we got to discuss this because people really do not realize how transactional sex that they really are making it to the other party. So we got Yarly Brown says, yes, sex has always been transactional as it relates to relationships. So what is your take on the transactional portion, Vaun?
Yeah, in a large part, I agree that it has largely been transactional for as long as we can remember, especially the style of marriage that we were introduced to. But I don't think it was designed to be that way.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think at the onset of marriage that there were probably bigger ideas surrounding what it was supposed to entail, but what it has devolved to is transactional. And you'll find that even couples that are married, many of them are still practicing some form of transactional sex. Like, I've been asking you to maybe cut the grass, for 2 weeks. And I cut it if you give me some.
Right.
Or the other way around, men can manipulate accordingly and by the same measure. So, so unfortunately, I think it's an unfortunate thing because, like I say, I don't think it was meant to be that way from the beginning. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't either. The University of Portsmouth, they did a research and they say that the orgasm and intense sexual pleasure is such a strong form of positive reinforcement and reward that it actually motivates people to change behaviors. And they said that they talked about the evolution of men and women has caused the use of orgasm and sexual arousal to be used as currencies. And so they discussed Pat Benatar's. Remember Pat Benatar back in the day?
Yep.
She had her song, "You Played with Desire Like It Was a Toy. How much affection can you destroy? You wrap my heart around your little finger. Sex, sex, sex as a weapon. Stop using sex as a weapon," was some of the words in her song.
Yeah.
And so we really do. It's really prevalent, and it causes a dysfunction in the relationship so that the intimacy level starts to wane because now you're using it as a form of reward or manipulation. So the part of the intimacy, the reason why it's supposed to be there, because sex is a to me, I call it a byproduct of the marriage. You get married to have purpose and do the will of the Father, and then sex happens to be your reward. So it's kind of in that manner. That's how I look at it. And people are not using that intimacy part of that connection part and coming together and learning more about their person, because it is the most intimate thing and the most vulnerable place that you can be in when you're intimate and butt naked in front of somebody and having sex with them.
Yeah. I think it is one of the most, probably the single most intimate act that you can do. And it's been cheapened, because people are doing without any, people are having, can you have sex without being intimate? I think you can be intimate without having sex, but I don't know if you can have sex without being intimate because of the closeness that's required, the proximity that's required, right? But I think there's so little connection
Yeah.
required. Not I won't even say required, but there's so little connection that's being experienced in a lot of these encounters. And so,
Yeah.
to the point that you were making, I think that uh, or maybe I made it, the original design of it and the way that it was meant to be our reward or whatever. Um, I think that, so many people, like there's this saying, I heard an, a lady tell me that an elder told her, because the girl was very promiscuous, right?
Okay.
And so she loved to have sex, and she wasn't as discriminate as you might like, or as you might think a woman might be, but she was broke. She had no
Okay.
money. and,
Okay.
and the elder woman told her, girl, ain't no sense in having a hot, ain't no sense in being that worked up and having that much sex and your purse is still empty. Now,
Right.
I dressed it up, you know what I mean? But she said it a lot more colorful than that,
Right.
and so it's just an example of how, people are using sex to get what they want, as opposed to, man, almost as opposed to getting what they need.
Yeah. And we're actually taught that. I remember being a young, teenager and my grandmother saying that. I remember that. You should never be broke as long as you got a coochie.
Right.
Right. And so it's like, man, so then you're taught to use it as a means to get what you want instead of what you need, like you said. Or did you say need a want? You said it one of them ways.
Yeah.
Um,
Both.
right. And so you asked a question earlier about, can you be intimate? Can you have sex without being intimate? And so people try to put the whole 4-letter word on it so that they don't have to say intimacy. So because sex is a more intimacy than, well, you got making love, you got sex, and then you got the 4-letter word. So people talk about the 4-letter word so that they don't have to sound like they're being intimate, but the 4-letter word can bring some intimacy in there depending on who you're doing it with, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really a matter of, I believe who you're involved with this act in and what your intentions are for this act. And we could talk about how it's designed for married folks, with the reality of it all married folk ain't the only ones doing it. But that is why it really is a powerful tool, if you will, to bring intimacy, to bring connection, to really combat a lot of things that are happening in the spirit world that a lot of people are not paying attention to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yardley Bond says sex has always been transactional with relationships. If you could, Yardley, I'd like for you to expound on that a little bit. If you could just kind of elaborate a little bit as to what it is that you believe about it always being transactional. That conflicts a little bit with what I think, but I love being enlightened. So if you got a little bit more to offer on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, and if anybody what are your thoughts? We would love to know, what do you think? We want you to engage with us. Tell us what your thoughts are on this whole matter. Do you feel like sex is transactional? Do you feel like it's not? Do you feel like people can do something better? I mean, like, what are your thoughts? So Yardley says, on a basic level, men traditionally provide provision, security, and commitment for women. In exchange for that, women traditionally provide exclusivity of having access to her body for the children produced.
Mm, I can
Okay.
dig it. I can dig it.
Okay.
I have
Well,
no argument for that perspective at all. I like that.
yeah.
And this he's talking about for in exchange for exclusivity. Let me just touch on that point for a second. That absolutely is an example of transactional sex, and even in a sense, maybe even transactional love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Man, should love be transactional? I don't know. Maybe we can touch on that too. But I think I can't help but to wonder if, and maybe I'm too, I don't know, maybe altruistic or idealistic is probably a better word. But I can't help but to think that in the purest sense, if a man and a woman was to get together and they really dig each other, and they come to some sort of agreement, like, hey, you know what, I'm really feeling you, you really feeling me, and not only do we not even have to speak about being exclusive, it's just a vibe that we feel. We ain't even talking about it. We just gonna do this thing, and that's that. And then it's assumed, and not only assumed but expected, and not even just expected but logical for the man to protect and provide, and also in return for the woman to provide in her feminine way. So, and even protect and nurture in the ways that she would naturally do. So I'm just wondering if, and I don't know that we have, any, but I'll just ask you what your thoughts are on that.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask, I kind of have a question with based off your question. I think that women automatically think that once they give themselves to this man, most women, I'll say, because I'm not going to say all women, because some women are just like transactional. Hey, this is what I'm going to use my body for what I need. But many women believe that once she opens herself up and gives her body to that man, that she's exclusive. But that doesn't mean that the man is exclusive, because he's not necessarily using his body. I think, was that you that posted earlier today about men and their bodies and women and their and sex? Did you post that?
No, not today. It wasn't.
There was a post I just saw, I'm not sure who posted it, that talked about men have sex with their bodies and women have sex with their minds. So if the man is just giving himself of his body, and this is just, and this is IMO, so I want nobody attacking me. I believe that if a man really truly understood the value of his body, he wouldn't be spreading it all around everywhere. That's the first thing. There would be no need for him to dip and dab in all spaces, right? Because he would understand the value of his body, and that he only gets the one, and that you can really ruin your life and die by giving yourself to somebody in an hour, and your whole life has changed. Or you can give yourself to somebody in an hour, and now you're with a baby that now you don't even like the girl that you was with. So it's so many different things, but it takes a value in knowing what your body produces and knowing the value of that seed in order to not just give it up just because.
Yeah.
But women give that knowing that, hey, once we done laid down, you my man.
You said generally speaking, right?
Generally speaking, ladies on here, tell me if you agree or you disagree, please. Yarley says that men and women love differently. They do. This is why he said, this is why a man's bloodline is more important. Well, I don't know about more important, but I believe that.
I was waiting on you to see that. I just wanted to see what you thought about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not more important, but it is important, because your seed is necessary to bring life. We can't make life alone. So I don't know about more important, but just as. So Sierra says she also agrees with what I said as well. So
think,
this is.
Let me jump in for a second and just kind of touch on what Yarley's saying. He just made another comment. He said men also need to control themselves as well as have phallic control. Now, I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
You made a point about men and the way we view sex. Derek says a man's bloodline is definitely not more important. Here's the thing. There's a lot of social and societal conditioning, cultural conditioning. There are many ideas that are born out of who's more important, who brings what to the table. But the reality is, when the child comes out, if you were to test that child out, that child is 50% mom, 50% dad. Yep. You can't bring another life into this planet without the agency of that masculine and feminine energy combining. And the healthiest expression of that would be if that couple is in harmony. And so if that couple, if the woman or the man is feeling uneasy or undervalued or marginalized in that relationship, either one of them in any way, on any level, then you're going to deliver less than what your best expression is when that fruit comes forth. Right? Absolutely. So it's in that regard that I say, I don't believe that either one is more important than the other, because you can't do without both. You can't do anything without both. So people
Absolutely.
say, I've heard some very prominent figures express the idea that the man is more important, a more important piece of the relationship or to the marriage than the woman is. And again, I have to disagree, because what's more important than children? And you
Right.
can't produce children without the agency of a woman. Now you can rationalize that in all kinds of different ways, and try to justify one being more important than the other. Well, I carry the baby, or the man said, well, you can't do it without my seed. However you want to shape that up, the bottom line is you can't do it without men and women coming together on one accord to create life.
Right. And so it just tickles me how we go battle back and forth about something that we need from each other. We're so busy. Oh no, it's your fault. No, no, it's not. It's your fault. We're so busy pointing fingers that we don't realize exactly what's really happening, that people are turning, or we're being programmed to turn on each other. You know, when you said earlier about how they said that the man is more important, or you hear people talk about you couldn't do it without my seed. We got so much derogatory things going out, like when you have a man who has a child and he doesn't like the mother, or the woman has a child and she doesn't like the father. Well, you should have thought about that before you had babies with somebody that you didn't know if you could live with for the rest of your life. And so that's what I'm talking about with not knowing the value of what you bring. But we have to realize that when we do that, when people are doing that, and your children hear, and I know I'm kind of sidetracking a little bit, but I just felt the need to say this. When your children hear, I don't like your mama, I don't like your daddy, what you're doing is saying you don't like half of who that child is. And that child begins to internalize that seed has now been placed within them. And now low self-esteem is happening, lack of confidence. They're feeling some kind of way about themselves because ultimately you don't like my mama or you don't like my daddy. So it must be something wrong with me too. So
Yeah,
that's just, I just had to throw that out there.
yeah. You basically just disrespected, maybe, or yeah, I'll
Disregarded.
use that. Disregarded a major component of who they are,
Yeah.
because there's nothing more important to a child than his parents or his or her parents. So when you tell them that half of you ain't worth the tennis shoes that you're wearing, yeah, you've just made a major psychological. You've just delivered a major psychological blow to that child. I've heard of many mothers saying to the child, "You just like your daddy. You ain't gonna never be sugar honey iced tea, right?
Mhm.
Or
Right.
you look just like your daddy. I can't stand you." And even men, in some regards, where they can't stand the mother if there's custody battles going on and the child is with one or the other during these custody situations, how they badmouth one another, and the child is left in the middle, feeling pretty bad about all of it. You got a
Yeah.
couple more comments. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we got Derek Jackson who says something that's real deep. Women used to have the ability to reproduce without the man. Now that's a deeper conversation, though, family. Okay. That is a deeper conversation.
Yeah, you got a comment right above that too with Yardley Bond. He said, if bloodline wasn't important, Mr. Povich would not be a multimillionaire today. Now, again, is that bloodline or is that DNA?
I think that's DNA because I believe that again, those people on those shows do not realize the value of what they're bringing to the table. You just sleeping with folk. You in here. I ain't gonna say all people because people, condoms break, but for the most part, people just sliding in and on,
And
and
I'm sorry, go ahead, my fault.
that's okay. And not thinking past the moment. They're in the moment, they're hot and heavy, and they're like, oh, I just want to get this off. 15 minutes to an hour, right? And you've now changed your entire life for years to come. Nobody's thinking that. And that's why I put last week that people that are impoverished think for the moment. People that are wealthy have wealthy mindsets. And this doesn't have anything to do with how much money you have. The mindset of abundance and wealth makes you think about tomorrow automatically. You don't make decisions that's gonna take up your legacy and slash it. That you make decisions that's gonna go, okay, so yeah, that's not gonna be good. Even though you real hot and cute, but no, I don't really think that yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know it's possible because other ethnicities do it. Sorry.
Yeah. You know, to the point that Derek was making, that he talks about women used to have the ability to reproduce without the agency of a man. There's this idea, this concept called parthenogenesis. And as recent, they actually did Derek, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they actually did a not a survey, but they took account of how many women that are still reproducing without the agency of a man even today. And as recently as the 1980s, I want to say that there were something like 100 and some odd virgin births that are now, of course, this is internet information. I can't verify that, but these doctors say that they've confirmed these virgin births. I don't know how to get beyond that other than the words that I read, right? But the point is, even without that, like Yardley says, if bloodline wasn't important, Mr. Povich wouldn't be a multimillionaire. Sometimes the child comes out with the when they do the blood test, some are O positive, some are O negative or AB positive, whatever. Sometimes the child doesn't come out with the father's blood type. That's the word I'm looking for. Sometimes the child has the mother's blood type. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah.
So does that invalidate the man's bloodline then if the child comes out, you know, if the mother is O positive but the father is not, and then the child comes out O positive, does that somehow negate or invalidate the father's presence or the father's contribution to that child's arrival?
It shouldn't, because there's complicated things that go into what the blood type is going to be. So I don't believe that. But yeah, going back to Derek, apparently woman could produce without a man. There's Christ.
Now see, that's a whole now see now but that's a different, I don't know if that's the same understanding as what they're talking about with parthenogenesis. I want to say it's different, but
so they're saying that their bodies, because I believe everything is spiritual. I don't think that we don't live. I think that the spiritual world is more evident. We just don't take it on as more of our physical, what we see. So we don't know why those things happened.
Right. And much of it is left up to interpretation, which, you know, everybody has a perspective, and who knows what that could be. You got another comment from Yardley.
Yardley said, go ahead.
I know that for women, bloodlines, knowing who the father is just as important. DNA is both bloodlines as well as your connection to your family. This is the irresponsibility of people, like you said, thinking of the moment and not thinking of tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Knowing what you want to produce in your life, knowing what if you know that, and people do this because people actually plan out, like when you go to get surrogates, or you go to sperm donors, and women just want to produce babies by themselves. There, you can produce what you want, right? Honestly, this is God honest truth. I decided, and I got it, because that's what I called I called to myself. I wanted a daughter after my son. I talked about what I wanted her eyes to look like. I envisioned my child before she got here.
Wow.
And that's exactly what happened. My son came first. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted him to be first so he could protect her. And then I named what I wanted my daughter to look like, because I wanted to make sure that she was beautiful, that she would be attractive to attract what she needed in life. And it happened.
Wow. Now, that's heavy. That's heavy. You know, it's almost like, it's a little bit different. When my wife and I, we were just 16, right? I was 16, she was 17. And it's almost like, I don't want to take this out of context, but it's almost like, you know, not even almost, we agreed. We basically sat down and said, let's make a baby. Now, we were way too young to even be having that conversation, you know, based on what the responsibility that life was going to require of us, right? But like you were saying, conception begins in the mind, right?
Mhm.
And so we first we agreed here, right? And then next we touched and agreed, right? And then in a sense, like the Bible says, let us make man,
Yeah.
right? And then we brought forth our first child. And so I'm telling you, with the path that I was on prior to the arrival of that child, and then the trajectory that my life took after that child arrived, it was like night and day. I mean, I don't know where I was going, but it wasn't good prior to
Mhm.
that. But
Mhm.
once she got pregnant, it changed everything. And once
Yeah.
the child arrived, I mean, again, like I said, my life took on a whole new level of responsibility and purpose. You got
And that's the same with my son. My life before I say all the time, my son saved my life because before my son, I was living reckless. It's not that I was doing sexually reckless, but I was living reckless. I was doing things that I don't want to nobody tell no, but I was living reckless out here. I was doing things that I should be locked up somewhere for real. And so him coming into my life saved my life and changed the trajectory of my life for the better. And I have been on this ride to do everything I can to make sure that I create a legacy for them and my grandchildren. So I really believe that children are a blessing in the sense of that. And we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, talking about, you having babies out of wedlock and all of these things, and everybody, you can't take care of the babies and things like that we talked about. But I believe that was the blessing to me because I really think that my whole life would have just been a wreck. And not that I wasn't smart because I've been a straight A student through all of my schooling, high school, grammar school, college, but I wasn't smart in the common sense area. I was doing stupid stuff, right?
yeah,
So in doing that stupid stuff, the trajectory of my life changed because of that child.
yeah.
And so it was the whole thing. So, um,
You got a couple more comments right there, Yardley and then Derek.
okay. Says Yarley says that's why a man seed is as just as important as the womb of the woman. And then we got Derek Jackson who says, I do believe it was in the 80s in today's climate with distractions, being disconnected from self and poor nutrition plays a large part in why virgin births are essentially unheard of. I
Mm,
believe that. I believe that the bodies that we have are magnificent,
yeah,
just
yeah.
hands down.
They are. They are.
So here's some major reasons that humans have sex. There's 13 major reasons that I've researched. And
Uh-oh.
yeah. So 13 major reasons that humans have sex, and they're cut down into these 4 different pillars. Okay. So the
Okay.
first pillar is physical pleasure. That's relieving tension, pleasure, desirability, seeking experience, goal attainment, exchange of resources, social status, revenge, and utilitarianism and gaining control over people.
I think that's utilitarian.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. We help me out, brother. Help me out. Don't judge me, y'all. I did get for days. I don't mean I can say every word. No, I'm just kidding.
You meant it the right way. It just got past you a little bit. You meant it. Right.
The third pillar is emotional reasons, love and commitment and expression. And I'm gonna stop there for a second because I found that we have all these reasons in these different pillars, but in the emotional reasons of it, there's only 2. And the fourth pillar was insecurity, which brings self-esteem boost and duty and pressure, and mate guarding, which is what I think that Yardley was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really profound to find that there's actually pillars to why people have sex.
Yeah. We talked. I mean, this is our maybe third or fourth show talking about sex.
Yeah.
But I think we have all these different categories, but really, I don't know that sex has much more than maybe a couple different uses, maybe 3 uses. And Napoleon Hill talks about this in Think and Grow Rich, where he says, for one, that as a therapeutic agency, sex has no rival, right? So it's therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
2 is to bring forth life.
Right.
Right. And I think that was the third one too, but I don't remember what it was.
The
It feels,
transmutation.
Oh, and there you go. And transmutation, transmutation. I
right.
forget that. I'm the one that's always talking about that. So transmutation, right, which is a whole nother topic, right? Just a level of thinking and doing better and higher, therapeutic, and then to bring forth life. Now, outside of that, you can attach a bunch of other little reasons to it, like guarding and insecurities and things like that. But I think that that's what you would call an abuse of sex or a misuse of sex. But the actual use for which it was intended, for which it was designed, I think that those three pretty much, as far as what I've come to understand, those three pretty much sum it up.
Yeah, I think so too. There was a study in Germany, scientists in Germany, they found that people who have sex more, and here go y'all men, here you go.
You're talking bad about the brothers. Hold on.
You say what? No, I'm saying this.
Don't be talking bad about the brothers.
You say what?
I said, don't be talking bad about the brothers. Now go ahead.
No, I'm about to help y'all. I'm about to help y'all. Y'all want y'all women say y'all ain't making enough money? Hold on. They say that they found that in people who have sex more than 4 times a week receive 3.2% higher paychecks than those who only have sex once a week. So you want to raise, have more sex.
Now here's an interesting correlation for that. Right?
Okay.
Men with higher sex drives are more purpose driven.
Yes, that's true.
So, and if they take, it's almost, well, it falls right in line with that transmutation in a sense, because that energy, especially if they're purposeful with their energy, it's the same exact energy that's used to make accomplishments. Go ahead.
Hey, James, hi, brother James, how you doing? Sadly, now the relationship ideas you speak of require a level of thinking and maturity most do not have. This is what I was laughing at. She said, you say transmutation. I say sex magic. Come through, Desi.
Yeah. It's real magical around these parts. We get it.
Come on now. See, gotta get the poetry going on.
Yeah. Got the light is popping, But and that's really, they call it magic for various reasons. I don't have to go into all that, but it is essentially the same thing. It's a way of bringing to fruition things that might initially seem unattainable, but through the transmutation or the transference of this energy, many more things are attainable. Much more becomes possible. So it seems like magic, but when you know what you're doing, when you're purpose driven, to the people that's practicing, it's not magic at all. It's just a way of doing, thinking, and being.
Right.
Shout out to my baby doll. She hit it on the head.
And for those who are abstaining, such as myself, when you hold in it, right, that transmutation turns that into genius, right? It starts to make you are able to tap into your mind like you've never been able to tap. And you actually, what's the word I want to use? You're able to see, you'll be more creative. You'll be, it can even drive you a little nuts, but that genius taps in. You tap into that genius. That's a part of the transmutation for those who are holding out. But don't hold out to be smarter, y'all, for the married folk. Don't be holding out to be smarter.
No. Yeah, and it's funny how they give you a glimpse of these different ideas in movies, right? And how the person, whether it's a male or a female, once they begin to get rid of all of their intimate relationships for whatever reason, maybe their heart got broken or whatever. Yardley said, "No magic for you, huh?"
Keep talking, brother.
I know a lot of internal magic going on. Internal magic.
Internal magic, absolutely.
Yeah, you made me lose my train of thought. That was.
I'm sorry.
Man, I forgot what I was thinking. What I was saying. I lost my train of thought. That was good stuff, Yardley. Sierra said, "I want to be a genius abstaining." What did you say? I want to be a genius.
No, you married. You don't get to be a genius. Get over it.
No, now check this out. I'm glad you said that.
Okay. Well, I'll come back to James to yours.
Here's the thing. When it comes to being on one accord in relationship, in intimate relationship, in marriage especially, you can agree that for a period of time that this is what we're going to do, and you can still bring to fruition some very powerful things, very powerful ideas. Right. So just because you're married doesn't mean that you can't abstain. It's just that you need to abstain in agreement with your mate.
Right. Absolutely. James says, I read an article in Business Insider that sex improves short-term memory and boosts brain cell growth. Yeah, right. Well, my short-term memory is off. I'm just kidding. Sierra was laughing. So listen, this is really good. So I was trying to think it was something else I want. Oh, this is what I want to ask the guys and ladies. Do you think this is true or false for you all? Not necessarily that it's true or false, but what do you think of this? To deny men or husband sex is like denying an asthmatic their inhaler. What do you guys think of that? What do you think of that, brother? Do you think that's like taking breath out of your,
I won't quite go that far, but it can be incredibly frustrating. I imagine.
You say you imagine. You don't even know about that. Anyway.
I don't have any problems. But
this is another thing. It says women desire sex, but men need it.
That is a common sentiment. I'll go so far as to say I think that women need it just as much as men do. And in my observation, I think women actually get more enjoyment out of sex than men do. So even though men may have, I don't know. I mean, you hear all these different ideas. I do, man. Sex feels great, right? I mean, I'll get a little bit, detail here. I don't make the facial expressions that my wife makes.
But let me ask you this. Is that because you too busy with your pride there, your ego, your chest out, you too busy watching her facial expressions?
No, man, look, I'm ugly as hell when we get it down. I don't care nothing about that.
but that's because we're more expressive.
I don't know, man. Again, I mean, just the fact that women are more often multi-orgasmic than men are. Women can typically have more orgasms, right? There are more erotic zones or more pleasure points on a woman's body. The heightened sensitivity that women experience. For men, I mean, it's a little bit simpler for us, I think, than it is for y'all.
Well, I guess we should have something, seeing that I was trying to see if I could find that. It was another study that they talked about men and how they have, I think I posted something like this about a couple of weeks ago about men and their seed, how they have all of this seed for life, right? But women is on a time because we can really only have one baby per year. So it's like, we need to have something multiple.
But see, now look, that speaks to the point that I was making before, that sex is not just for pleasure. It's not just for making babies either. Look, once a man makes a baby with his woman, let's say there's a period of time where she can't engage in sex. Well, that man doesn't just because you have that urge to have sex doesn't mean that you got to find somewhere to bury your bone, right? You can actually, again, transmute that energy into a higher purpose, doing something else that is required of you for your family, for your community. I mean, and again, I know that this is outside of, what we normally practice, but it's there for that.
That's really good. What just came to my mind when you said that was, so after he's now planted his seed, she's now pregnant, having this baby, her during that time, if men would take that time and transmute that into that genius and start coming up with these ideas because that may be why that timing is there. Yeah. So he can now focus now on, that building process. so that once the child is there, and now you don't have to take all this time away from the woman. Now you just put some time, because what typically happens is men find themselves in these building stages, and then they kind of, go blank with the emotional levels of their woman, when there's a time for that. And if we focus and understood our bodies more and understood what our bodies really do, then we would know when those times were there, so that we're not overusing certain times.
Yeah. Yeah. And we, we overuse sex for the recreational purpose.
We have.
But there's a lot. I mean, you can see just how much. Shout out to my boy Ty. What up, Ty? I see you. You can just imagine how when you were young, before the age, I don't know if any of y'all ever, most of y'all probably didn't do this, but when you were young and doing it before you were supposed to be doing it, right? I did, right? And you can come up with some creative ways to get it in when you really want to get it in. And I'm saying that, again, that you're using your powers for evil, right? You're using your powers to get what you want. But again, you can come up with some genius ideas, some very creative ways to make it happen. And I'm saying that same creativity exists outside of just getting it in. So we're supposed, by nature, we're supposed to make provisions for our family. We're supposed to build. We're supposed to organize. We're supposed to do things that create a safer and more harmonious environment for our family, for our women, for our children. And so what has happened, though, is that we've accepted ideas that allow us to be studs. In air quotes again, right? We're studs. There's nothing more than a dog that's just, looking for a place to get a nut. But there's a much higher purpose for that than just the release.
Absolutely. Sierra says, I agree with Vaun. Women need it just as much as men. Desi's cracking up at us. Yarley says, yeah, you do. You just not using a mirror. I'm not sure which one he was talking. You know what he was talking about?
I think he was talking about my facial expressions.
Oh. And then he said he agreed about your last statement. Yeah, because man, I think that we just really need to understand what we have in that manner.
Yeah. It heightens the connection too. I mean, sometimes you can get so busy, and it has even happened, for the sake of being transparent, it has even happened in our own marriage where, we got so much going on, and I'm running to and from, and I'm doing this, that, and the third, and she's handling business, and you can feel the connection, and it primarily comes from her. She'll let me know, like, hey, we've been so attentive to these things, but we got to get back on point with what's really important, and that's us. And sometimes she'll pull my coat and let me know that there are bigger fish to fry. I mean, those things are important, but so is this. So
I even tell my clients the same thing. When I feel, I say this to every client every coaching couple that I coach. I say, when you have an argument, go have sex. You celebrate, go have sex. You just had a long day, go have sex. Sex is the ultimate way to connect, and it is the very first thing that happens that pulls you away, because they know that again, I believe everything is spiritual. If I, as the enemy, as we call it, know that having sex is going to bring you together the best, the most, the deepest level of intimacy, where it connects you, where you all kind of start to think like one. Those are the types of things I'm going to keep you from. The very first thing that most people stop doing when they start to wean away from each other is, you can look at their sex life and say they're not having sex either not doing it at all, or it has started to go away.
Yep.
So if you really want to reconnect with your partner and you're feeling like there's some issues that y'all can't communicate, the best way to start that communication level is in the bedroom. Yep. That's why there shouldn't be no TVs in your bedroom. Get the TVs out the bedroom, couples. Bring it out.
Yeah. Got another comment down there. Ty Perkins says, I think sex just delays the argument and issues. Things need to be talked out. I agree.
talk way more after you done had sex. Don't do it. Everybody calm, right? Everybody, we together. Now let's have this discussion quietly, calmly, because now we can now be logical and not worried about, oh my God. Just I'm telling you, it works.
Yeah, to that point though, I think that there's some meat on that bone. We oftentimes sex ends up serving as a Band-Aid in many relationships, and so the issue tends to get pushed to the back. Desi says, "What?"
Nah, she said, "Nah, I gotta be mad first. Give me a few minutes, then we can connect."
No. She said, I gotta not be mad first.
Oh, I gotta not be mad. Oh, not be mad first, right?
Yeah, and that's how we get. I can do it mad. I can be mad, and it ain't no problem. I can push that to the back of my mind because she looked good with that towel coming out the shower. I don't care how mad we just was 5 minutes ago. I like you, but if she mad, man.
I'm like, hey, listen, let's just get this over with, bring down my stress levels, and then let's have a conversation. Yeah. Yarley says, this is why sex is transactional, because while the men provide provision, the women provide a good environment for raising of the children. Okay, you know what? Let's talk about that real quick. What about people? Because we know that that's the design, that it was supposed to be designed that way, right? But what about people who are now, they've been divorced, now they got grown kids. What do you say to that, Yardley, when you don't have children? You 40, 50 years old, you're not about to have no kids no more.
Right.
So Todd says, me too. He's laughing. Yardley says he can too. And James says, I'm with you, Vaun.
And everybody's different. There's such a difference in personalities and how we function. My wife is very sensitive. And I would imagine that the more sensitive a person is, the less likely they are to want to just jump into the bed. I don't know. Mm-hmm. All I know is my dynamic. And so I think I can be pretty sensitive. I cried back in 1983. I cried once. So
half a cry, one tear come out one eye.
I got one feeling left.
Whatever. Don't let him fool y'all. He's sensitive.
I got emotions. I one or two. But yeah, I think it makes a difference when maybe that's the difference. I don't know, because I know that my wife is very sensitive, and this goes into that zodiac thing that I'm always talking about, with the Pisces female being the most sensitive on the entire wheel, and that just so happens to be who I'm married to, and then that sometimes can clash with my impulsiveness, and so if I don't navigate that mindfully, then that can kind of trigger that sensitivity.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, this is a really good conversation. You got anything else you want to talk about as far as it's concerned?
I had a question that I got all the way away from it, but I wanted to ask, should there be any sense of obligation when it comes to sex? Yeah. So if, I don't know, let's say maybe one person's sex drive has fallen off. And this would be a lot easier, I imagine, for a woman to obligate to the man's desire if her sex desire has fallen off than it would be for a man. Because if a man's sex desire falls off, I guess, well, you can take the blue pill, I guess, you can still get it in. My question, though, the question remains, should there be an obligation to perform that sexual duty? If one partner's sex drive is much higher than the other. What do you think about that, family?
I think that your body doesn't belong to you, and her body doesn't belong to her. So things need to get down when they need to get down. That's just IMO, right? And so I believe that. What do you all think? Yeah. I believe that. I think that you just don't get to say, there goes that manipulation. I ain't giving you none kind of thing. You don't do that. That is like punishment and torture. You don't do that. You don't hold back sex because you're mad. Desi says absolutely. I agree. I think that you just, It shouldn't be used for that.
So your body belongs to who then? It belongs to the marriage, I guess, is
It
what you're saying.
belongs to the marriage. Absolutely.
All right.
No, now we talk about those people who out here, they're sleeping with their boyfriend or girlfriend. Now you got a whole nother dynamic because now, which is why it should be used in the marriage bed, because now who does that body belong to? You can't go and make him do or make her do or say this. You really can't hold them to it, to them being faithful, if you will.
Yeah.
How do you do that at that point? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ty says the body belongs to you. That ass belongs to me.
I can't with y'all. Dang on me, and I'm just kidding. I heard it. That's right. Well, I mean, it's true because my thing is but women probably feel the same way. If she wants some, don't be looking all crazy, something you tired. Go in there, take you a cold shower, wake yourself up, and then come on out and do what you got to do. Because I mean, you can think of it both ways, but back to the obligation. If your spouse is, but we know that you can also think, well, if my spouse really cares for me and understands where I'm at, and it hasn't been too long, then you can say, well, he's tired or she's tired. Let's move on this to tomorrow, right? But you got to come back to it.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between making exceptions for, let's say, I don't know, let's say my wife has a splitting headache, right? And I really want to have sex. When you genuinely care about somebody, then you're not going to put her through the torment of you beating on her body while she's dealing with a headache.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wouldn't put my wife through that. Now I expect that she wouldn't be faking a headache just to get out of shaking and baking either.
Right. Yeah, some women do that. They fake them headaches, boy.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm got a headache. I'm cramping.
Yeah.
Things.
So I think in a scenario where things are harmonious, I love using that word, where things are harmonious, then it's not really an issue. And so when you have a spouse, one spouse or the other, who doesn't want to cooperate sexually, then oftentimes there are other things that are off. There are other things that are missing. And I think that becomes the priority just as much as having sex. Go ahead, you got a couple comments.
James says, so if you're mad and you don't want to be near them at the moment, how do you engage? Desi said, James, give me a few minutes. Uno momento. That says, I'm walking in with 2 aspirins. Let's get to work. He like, you need this water?
Yeah. You start the stopwatch. Go.
Right, exactly. Yarley said you can't force a woman to have sex with you, but if you withhold it for an ulterior motive, that's wrong. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And the same goes for both. There's this video on Facebook. I shared with you earlier.
Yeah, that was funny.
The woman wanted to be argumentative, and the brother was like, "No more dick." He said, "No more dick." And so she started pouting. You know what I mean? She calmed all the way down because look, that rod, that staff, it shall comfort you unless. I hope that wasn't blasphemous. My rod, my staff, it shall comfort thee if you behave, is what I'm saying. So
right.
I'm saying to it, yeah.
I'm sure that the Lord has a sense of humor.
I hope so.
Yeah, you cannot be using it as a weapon, man. It's I think that the currency, the combat, and the connection, I think that everybody, well, I won't say everybody, I think that many people have used it for all 3 of those things, even probably all in the same lifetime.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we really understand the dynamics of the beauty of sex, because sex is beautiful. And when you are in the right dynamics with the right person, it's even more that.
it's
Desi over here cracking up. She's
yeah,
the
it's really important to the maintenance of a healthy relationship. But I think even equally important, it's important to maintaining a healthy body. And so you have, just to get off sidebar for a second, for brothers who, if your sex drive dips off, I mean, I know that we it's natural for us to decrease in testosterone as we get a little older, right? But your sex drive shouldn't be absent. And so oftentimes we don't realize how our lifestyle contributes to the decreased sex drive. You
yeah.
know, if you your diet, your dietary issues, they uh, say impotence or lack of sex drive is one of the earliest indications of heart disease.
Wow.
You see,
Wow.
and so there are foods that you can eat to reverse heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get into that a little bit later if we want to do a health show. But just a healthy diet that's high in fruits and vegetables and low in saturated fats and all of that stuff. Your sugars and even meat. People don't realize how much meat contributes to diabetes. You know,
Mm.
and ultimately robs you of your performance if you overconsume meat. Now I'm talking about men, right? Women, you got a different issue, but if you're not mindful as a man, you can rob yourself of your ability to perform well before it's time.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of things that we don't pay attention to as far as what we put into our bodies that helps us produce the bodies and how it's supposed to really function.
Yeah.
There's this post that I come across probably once a week, and they are talking about. She's like, "All right, ready, 1, 2, 3, go, Kegel, is it Kegels or
Yeah.
Kegel exercise?" She's like, "Do 20 right now, stop and do 20." And so all these women are going, done, 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 because we have to keep our stuff, keep it right, keep it tight. You got to know what to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we have to really maintain that goes with the health wise and making sure that we're eating correctly, making sure that we're taking good things. James says that magnesium is good for building testosterone in men. And then Desi says, yes, do a sex and health show so our people can stop using these medications. Yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah. And I'll say, just to the point that James just made, magnesium is good for building testosterone. And Yardley says Kegels are good for men too. Absolutely. What a lot of people don't know is that sugar is inversely proportional to testosterone. Sugar actually attacks your testosterone levels. So, a lot of men don't realize. I mean, you got all these honey buns and now laters, and you going to town not realizing that that's robbing you of your sex drive.
And you know what? It's funny that you say that, because I have heard the opposite, that men that have high sex drives usually eat a lot of sugar.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I've heard that it was all through the church. Well, I don't know what that meant, but
Ty Perkins says Hennessy works just fine.
just kidding. He's silly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard that many times.
I imagine if, as for a younger man, that probably, you can, because I've always had a sugar obsession. When I was younger, and there were times, just to be transparent again, there were times where I didn't I think I was maybe 20. This was at my second duty station, so I was probably 24, and I couldn't get it up. Wow. And my wife thought it was her, and I didn't understand how much of a correlation that there was between how much sugar I was eating. I mean, I love Milky Ways and Twix, and I was drinking pop. Plus, I like to drink a little alcohol, and there was a time where I couldn't perform. It just wouldn't work. And she thinking, you have another woman? Is it me? What is it? And of course, it was later that I learned, like, man, they are inversely proportional. So if you have a high sugar diet, it could rob you. And of course, it affects us all different. It just depends on where you are, what your drive is, and high is relative, right? So what I'm saying is high might not be high to the next person, but for me, I mean, I used to really, really indulge, and I just don't like that anymore. I still get my snacks, but nowhere near like I used to, because I'm still a young man and I like to play.
Yeah. And women have to know what that means. We do need to bring, especially some health guru on and talk about that, because we need to know too what it takes as far as the woman, making sure that you stay, the whole. Although I don't like the song, the WAP should stay the WAP for a long time, and it can stay that way if you know how to treat your body and eat correctly and do what you need to do, so that you're not having to use these place things that don't belong in your body into your body to make sure that those things happen. And so, but we need to know what we need to be eating and how we should be eating and taking care of our bodies to make sure that those things happen. Because you can't tell me that you shouldn't be able to have sex well into your 90s. When we talked about Abraham in the Bible, he had baby. How old was him and Sarah? They was doing it regularly, because they was trying to have a baby. So you can't tell me that you can't well into your 90s and 80s. Dr. Ruth, oh my God, do you know she's still out here? I
didn't even know she was still alive.
Yeah, she is still out here. I saw an interview with her a couple of months ago, and she was talking about, she said, yeah, she has sex every day with her husband. She's 84 years old. And the lady was like, you still have sex? She was like, yeah, you see, I walked up in here straight up.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm not bent over. I walked in here straight up. I didn't need no help. You ain't have to walk. She was like, that it contributes to the longevity of her life, she believes.
Yeah. And men, I mean, we should wake to an erection, just about every morning, and it's not necessarily an indication that we want to have sex. It's really an indication that all systems are go, like they used to say on Voltron, right? All systems go. You wake up, you got a nice little tent, that's showing you that life is good. And if you have a regular occurrence where you wake up without an erection, that means that you got some health challenges, and you need to kind of look into that.
Yeah, that's definitely.
And the first place to look into that would be looking into your diet, trying to see what you can do, to rectify that.
Yeah. Yep. So we got Yarly said that's for energy, Gatorade forever.
Yeah.
Don't have transactional sex. Absolutely. Yeah. She got her back blown out talking about Dr. Ruth.
Yeah.
It says, oh, we going far into our 100s. The Lord promised us 120. Yes, he did. Yep. All the way in to 120th. You're going to be doing it. That's just because we got to, you know what?
Man, look. Nah, never mind. I ain't going to go into that tied nut.
Right. We got to pee. So this was really good, y'all. Thank you all so much for engaging us today. I'm really, I think that we really need to pay attention. This is the thing. They said that women can use sex as a weapon in combat in two ways: outright denial and not being sexy. And men can use sex as weapons too, by offering bargaining chips as well, threatening that they'll go someplace else.
Yeah.
So, it's not just women that's out here using sex as manipulative ways. Men are doing it too. And we got to stop using it as combat, because it wasn't designed for that way. It was designed for us to connect. That's what it was designed for connection.
And to your point, that's exactly what it is. It's just manipulation. And neither one of us, males or females, have the patent on being manipulative. It goes both ways, and we all do it. I like to practice a healthy manipulation in my marriage. I manipulate my wife in a very healthy way that benefits both of us, I like to think.
Absolutely. Well, you can always that's the playful part. That's what keep you young and keep you going. Yeah. You gotta be able to do that. So what I get for this? Well, what you want, kind of thing. Ty says that we're doing amazing. Keep doing this. Thank you so much, Ty. We appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Yarly says he agrees, and that we are not combatants.
That's right.
Absolutely. That's not what we're here for. We love y'all. We had a wonderful time. We can't wait till next week. Make sure that you all hit us up on our Instagram page, like our page over there. Follow Vaun, the Love Alchemist. I'm saying my words like I'm from New York or something. Vaun the Love Alchemist at Facebook and Instagram. Also at Coach Michelamonè on Facebook and Instagram. And make sure that you all like and follow our YouTube page. We're trying to build up our YouTube page, y'all. Please go over there and subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you hit the bell for any upcoming videos that we're having. We're going to be doing some good things. We keep talking about some great things that we're having, but we need more people to see exactly what we're doing so that it can actually get to more people. So please make sure that you all meet us next Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another great conversation. We haven't decided what that's going to be yet, though. Did we decide?
No, we haven't. But I like what my wife was saying, that we need to get us a sexpert on here.
Yeah.
Well, you said get the expert. She said do the show, but I don't know how quickly we can get one on here, but that would be a great show.
Yeah, that would be. She says, love you too. See you next Sunday. Yes, we love you. See you next Sunday. Amazing show. Thank you guys so much. We love y'all.
Love y'all, fam. Peace.